Hey everyone, it's Harrison again, and today I'm going to go ahead and go over the entire JET program application. I made a video earlier this week with some advice just for the SOP or statement of purpose, and I mentioned I was going to do a longer video about the entire thing, so that's what we're doing now. And I'm going to keep looking over here because that's where I have my laptop with notes, all my talking points and everything. But this is going to be a long video. If you have the time, please watch it all. I mean, if you're applying for the JET program, I hope you would watch it all because there might be something you haven't thought of and it would help you. But just in case, you don't want to or you can't, whatever the reason may be, I'm going to have timestamps in the description or maybe in a comment below. So you can just go ahead and pick out whichever section you want. That way you can just go ahead and watch this, and that. So, anyways, gonna go ahead and get started with the video then. So let's go. Okay, cool. So the first thing we're going to talk about are the directions. You need to follow the directions. And I know this seems, like really obvious, duh, but you need to follow them to a T, because you can have an amazing application, a phenomenal SOP, kick-ass letters of recommendation, everything. You could look like the model applicant, but if you don't follow the directions, there's a very real chance that your application is just going to be like set to the side in the no pile. Because if you can't follow directions for some paperwork, and it's all online too, where the majority of it is, how are you going to function in a foreign country in the position that you're applying for? Like I've known people and I've read about things online, how people were like way overqualified or super qualified, everything just amazing, but like they didn't follow the directions. So I like one example, the letters of recommendation, you need to have one from a work source or one from and one from an education source, or two from each depending on your particular situation. This person had two amazing letters of recommendation, a phenomenal SOP, but basically, one of their letters of recommendation didn't follow the directions. It wasn't from an education or a job source, so they didn't get that interview. And that's, it's a shame that something like that, would happen. So please just follow the directions. Read everything to a T. So the next thing we're going to talk about is the SOP again. I'm just going to go over some different points, and if you want to know more, please go ahead and watch my other video about the SOP, because I'm not going to repeat the same stuff. So, but I guess the first thing I would say is you need to make an SOP that flows. It can't just be you talking about this and this and it's just all disconnected, because it's not going to be, one, it's not going to be easy to read, and two, it's going to be hard to see you in the writing, in the words, so make it so it flows. And like what I did, I kind of had like 5 paragraphs or so, and my first paragraph is basically what piqued my interest in Japan, and I talked a little bit about that, and then I talked about what can I do for Japan, like what can I offer. Then in my next paragraph, I talked about my qualifications, cultural exchange slash interest. And then my next paragraph was what Japan can do for me. So it's not just I can do this for Japan and this and this and this. It's also it's an exchange. An exchange is both ways, right? So I talked about what Japan can do for me personally. And then to sum it all up, I talked about how am I going to share my experiences and time on the JET program in Japan with everyone when I get back. So that's kind of how I did it, and it worked really well for me. You don't have to follow that exactly, just try to make it flow and so it makes sense and it's easy to read, and then that they can actually see you in your writing. Next thing is you need to have as many people read your SOP as you can. People who are literature majors, English majors, professors, family members, friends, have everyone read it, because getting their opinion on it is going to help, even if like they don't care about Japan, or they think the JET program is stupid or anything like that. I'm not saying you have to listen to everybody, but having all these other people, and please don't listen to everybody, because some people are going to have some pretty bad advice. Oh, you should put this in there. It's you know what you're going to need to do to make your SOP great. So don't listen to everybody, but be open and I guess listen to them, but you don't have to, actually do what they say. That's what I'm trying to say. So yeah, just have as many people as you can read it. It'll definitely help. Trust me. The next thing is make multiple versions. So when I first did my SOP, like my first version, I had really no idea what I wanted to do with it, where I was going with it. I just wrote, and I went from there. And basically, every new version I had, like if I added something, I would, make, version 1.1, 1.2, 1.3. And then once I did, and I redid my entire SOP 6 times, not like version 1.1, 2, 3, but like I completely redid everything, and that was like a new version. But what I'm trying to say is keep all these different, drafts that you do, because you might take something out, you might think this is dumb now, but once you're working on your next draft, oh, this is really great, this might work, so you can go back and just pull it, and this way you can keep track. Take notes too, like you changed this in this version, you changed that in that version. Those little things I think helped me a lot, so hopefully they can help someone else. So another thing, this is an application for a very professional, like, the interview is going to be very professional. The job, is professional. So don't use any contractions. This is something like that's really small, and it's my opinion. I'm sure, you can, there's people out there that use it, but, any formal writing, you're not really supposed to use contractions. So take all those out. It'll just make you seem, in my opinion, like have a better grasp on the English, written language. So that it might help, it might not, but it's something it's something that can easily be done. And the last thing is, again, and it's going back to something we just talked about, make multiple versions of it and keep track of everything. Trust me, it will help, okay? Alrighty, so point 3. Arguably the second most important part of the entire application, and that's going to be the 2 letters of recommendation. And you need to get someone or 2 people who are going to write you a letter of recommendation that's going to back up what's being said in your SOP. Because not only are you saying like all these amazing things in your SOP, but this person and maybe this person as well are saying things that are very, very similar. So it's going to make your SOP seem real. It's going to make it, not seem like you're just fluffing it up and trying to make yourself look better than everybody else. If these people can help your SOP, that it's almost like a guaranteed pass into the interview part of the application process. So, if you ask somebody to write you a letter of recommendation, ask them for 10 or 15 minutes to sit down, like if it's a professor or somebody or whoever else, to sit down and have like a mini meeting with them and discuss with them what the JET program is and what they do and why you're interested in it. And that way they'll have more information, on what needs to be put in the letter of recommendation. I'm not saying to, tell them, hey, you need to put this, this, and this in there. But it's a lot better than just asking a professor, hey, can you write me a letter of recommendation for this job I'm applying for? Like, what do they have to go on with that, right? If you, go over what this is and what they're looking for, they can maybe highlight, those aspects of you that they see and put that in there as well. So definitely, maybe consider doing that. Let's see. Next thing, placements. So yeah, the placements don't matter really. Like it's really rare you're going to get your placements anyways. Like the majority of people get placed in wherever. They place you where they need you, essentially, right? But I still think you should put down placements. And the reason is because you can put down 3 placements, your first, second, third choice, and you also have to put down your reason why. And even if you don't care, if you just put like, I don't care where I go, and just leave that section blank, I don't think you should do that. I really think you should put something down and put some really good reasons. And now I'm not saying go ahead and just lie and make yourself, fake it and make it kind of a thing. Do some research, spend some time, and look for some places that you genuinely might like, and put those reasons down there, because when the interview process comes around, they're going to ask you, hey, why do you pick this? And if you say, oh, for this reason, one of the interviewers might be like, oh, that's really cool, I like that, because that actually happened with me. Like, I put down Takayama for one of mine, and I mentioned how all the architecture is preserved, and it's really old architecture and everything. And the really grumpy Asian lady who was in my one of the interviewers, she came to life and started talking to me a lot about it. So it might help. So anything that might help you, like this, I don't really think matters for the initial application, but this could be beneficial later on during your interview. So, definitely, I'd say you should do that. Next thing, I should say, are the college transcripts. So if you've been to multiple colleges or have had multiple majors, I would recommend only putting down one major. So, because when I was in college, I went to a couple different ones, and I majored in this at one college and this at a different college. And then during the application, it asked you to write down what you were majoring in at each institution. Well, when the interview came around, they thought that I had a degree in this and that. And so they were really confused when I told them, well, I only have one degree. Even though their application, says to write down what you were going for. I was like, how would you get confused with this? It's your application. How do you not know how it works? But I didn't say that to them. It was afterwards, I was thinking that. But so I would recommend only putting down one. But probably more important, don't just listen to me. Contact your embassy and ask them directly, because that's where you're going to be going to have your interview. So ask them what they want you to do. That way it clears up any possible confusion down the road. Okay, so next is going to be your Japanese level, right? So I would say if you're intermediate, put beginner. And if you're beginner, just put beginner, okay? But I say that because when I was applying, I put intermediate when I was a beginner at that time, but I knew I was going to go ahead and study a lot. And, I did study a lot in between the time I applied and the interview came around, but I really only studied reading and writing, not so much, speaking. So when the interview came around, it was actually kind of a struggle to communicate with them, especially listening to what they were going to say. I knew a lot of vocab and my grammar was okay, but just not, having the experience, speaking and listening and hearing someone made it hard. And even like I mentioned, the grumpy Asian lady, she at one point was like, if you don't know, just say so we can move on, kind of a thing. I was taken aback by that, I didn't let it right on my nerves or anything, but I was just like, wow, you're super grumpy, But that's why I think you should just go ahead and put a level below, because if you do study more and get to intermediate, that's just another talking point you can have during your interview. Oh, okay, we see, we're going to do the whatever portion of the test, and if you do a lot better than what they thought, they'll bring that up and just like, oh, well, I continued my studies afterwards and I, improved, but at the time I was a beginner, and that's just going to show them again, wow, he's really interested in this. He's continuing to work on his application, even though the application process is over. So I that's what I think you should do. And if you are studying, please go ahead and practice speaking and listening as well, because that's what mine part of the application was. I'm sure the majority of them, of the Japanese portion of the application is just going to be a short conversation. So, it doesn't matter if you can write and read all the kanji in the world. If you can't speak and listen to somebody, there's no communication there. So, there's that. Okay, next thing, this is going to be really short. The FBI background check. And this is really only important for people who are applying for early departure, because it can take like 2 to 3 months unless you go through a channeler, which is more money. Then you could probably wait a little bit. But if you don't want to spend the extra money, you need to get your background check now, okay? Because it does take a long time for it to come through. So that's just that. If you're not applying for early departure, just don't even worry about it right now. Let's see. Okay, so point number whatever we're on is contact your embassy if you have any questions. Let's see. Oh, and be sure that they're in a nice, easy to read format for them. So I say, contact the embassy. You can listen to anything that I say, or you can go to the Jet Reddit, or your friend who's in Japan right now. That's all fine. But at the end of the day, the only people who are going to legitimately know, what you need to do are the people at the embassy. Everybody else is just advice. It's not rules that, So, contact them. Even if it's every week you think of something new, contact them. It might be, annoying if it's like everyday kind of thing, don't do that. But I think this will go ahead and show that you genuinely care, and it's going to start, your name is going to stick in the back of the jet coordinator's, head. So when the interview comes around, they're going to know, oh, hey, you're Harrison. I remember, all of our emails and everything. How are you? So it's going to be easier to make that connection, and it's going to be a lot smoother for you to have a conversation with them and for them to have a conversation with you, because it's going to be like you kind of already, know each other. So you should definitely contact them. And then I also said, make everything in a nice, easy format. So like what I did, because they're going to, like, thousands of people are applying, thousands of people are probably going to be asking questions like you. You don't want just to have a giant paragraph or just monster paragraphs of questions, right? So you need to have a question, bullet number 1, question, and then leave a space, and then bullet number 2, question. That's what I did, and my jet coordinator told me that she actually loved it because, one, it was very easy to reply, so she was able to reply quicker. So you're going to get faster return on your emails. And 2, she has to do that anyways when she replies to you, so you're making her job easier. So why not do that? So you're making her job easier, and you're going to get your questions answered a lot quicker. So definitely look into doing that. Yes. Okay. So number 8, or whatever we're on, reread every section multiple times. Reread the entire application multiple times. Not only are you going to catch errors like almost every time, it's crazy, but you're going to know the application like the back of your hand, basically. And this is going to come in handy during your interview. So, and this is because, I don't know what this is, but that's because they're going to grill you on your application during the interview. Like, I thought they were going to ask me a lot of questions about stuff that wasn't in my application, because you have my application. Why would you ask me questions about this? But they asked me a lot about my application and my SOP. So if you know what you wrote for your placements, if you know exactly what you wrote and you say the same thing or very similar or something even better that builds on what was said in your application to them, that's going to be really good on you, because it's going to show them that, this is like, you're not faking it, basically, that this is legitimately you, like, this is what you wanted, you could say this back to them easily. So reread everything multiple times so you'll learn your application through and through. It'll come in handy down the road, trust me. Okay, let's see. Finally, at the last thing, and I think this is also really important too, and it's basically, don't stop building your application after you submit it. Continue to work to build a better application. And it's like, well, why? I already mailed it, submitted it online, all that. That's fine. That's for that, part of the application. But, when you get that letter or email in December saying that you have an interview, that's great. So you're going to want to talk about what you've done since you've submitted, in that gap to when you have the application. So you might not have the opportunity to talk about, that stuff, but if you do, you can that's just, it's awesome, because it shows them that you genuinely care about this position and you have an interest in Japan and this sort of a thing, and it's going to be really, really helpful during the interview process. Like what I did, I went to a couple Japanese festivals, and I also stalked the JET program, like the coordinator's schedule as well. Anywhere that she was going to be where I could get to, and so I could see her in person, I went. That way she would see hear my name, see my face, see me out here doing stuff. It's going to be really helpful, even if you don't have to talk about that. But she's like, when the interview comes around, you don't have to talk about that because they will have seen you being active. Okay. What else? So yeah, I went to some festivals. You could do some volunteering or exchange that you could talk about. Another thing that I did, I went to the I'm from Florida, the Florida Japan Summit, and it's held once a year, and the basically the minister or whatever, ambassador or whatever of the embassy was there, and so I was able to meet him well before all the accepted new jets get to meet this person before they leave. I was able to meet and speak with him well before that even happened. So, and it also helped me during my interview because I was able to to mention some parts of that. Oh no. Okay, cool. But yeah, so that's basically it. So don't stop working on your application even though you've already submitted it, okay? And that's pretty much it for this video. If you have any questions about anything I've said or anything I didn't mention, go ahead and ask me in the comments, or you can email me. Email's going to be in the description. If you have, if you want to know more about the SOP, like I said before, I have another video already on it, so go ahead and do that. But I really do hope that this is going to be helpful to some people out there. And yeah, so I guess good luck to everyone, and I look forward to seeing you all in the next video, okay? See ya. Hey everyone, so it's Harrison again. No.